don't already know who you are, I would love for you to share a little background.
Yeah. So my name is Alex, and I live in Bend, Oregon, which is about 3 hours away from Portland. We're like right smack dab in the middle of Oregon. And I've been in the business about 2.5 years. My background is in marketing and sales. And so it's been a really fun transition to kind of go from working for other people and their business and their brand to kind of establishing my own business and my own brand. So yeah, it's been really fun. This business, as you guys all know, is wild and crazy, but I feel so lucky to be in it.
Awesome. So 2.5 years, that's not very long. Do you still feel like new sometimes?
I feel like honestly, in this business, there's always like you're always learning, you're always growing. There's always something that you're like, okay, I feel like I finally have got everything settled. I feel like I'm, moving, grooving, shaking. I've got it. And then something happens and you're like, what
What?
in the world? What do I even do with this? And then, I'll call my mentors and stuff and talk to them. And I've, called you and talked to you. And I'm like, have you ever dealt with this before? And you're like, nope. So I
Yeah.
feel like people are so, we're in a business of serving people and everyone is so different. Everyone's backgrounds are different. Their family dynamics are different. The market is constantly changing and shifting. And so I feel like even 20 years down the road, there's always going to be something new to learn.
I know. I feel like every day is so different in every transaction, and we're just having to adapt. So I just feel like that's something good to share. Like that's normal if you're feeling that way, especially for newer agents. It can be discouraging. So you got
Yeah.
into the business 2.5 years ago. Why did you get into real estate?
I got into real estate because I kind of hit this wall with the company that I was working for.
Hmm.
They were a really well-established company, and it was in insurance, and I had this kind of idea of where I wanted to take their current marketing because it was very outdated, very antiquated, and I really just wanted to take them into the 21st century. And they basically were like, hey, we're making enough money and we're happy where we're at and we really don't want to change anything. And I feel like I kind of at that point was like, I'm in my late 20s. I feel like I still have so much life ahead of me. I could
Hmm.
stay at this job making consistent income with benefits and just kind of like, you know, do the day in and day out, or I could step out on my own, step out in faith and courage and kind of create something of my own and just be creative.
Was that scary?
Oh my gosh. I remember there was one day I was like laying on my floor in my kitchen and I was just like bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, I don't want to leave. This is really scary. Like, what if this doesn't work out? And my husband just
Yeah.
really, and my friends just, and my mentor in real estate just really encouraged me. And they were like, you can get a job doing anything, anywhere, at any time. This is something that, like, well, you don't have kids and you're young and you have the energy and the drive to just pursue it and just jump in it. But there were definitely, I remember when I called my boss and quit, I just like, I don't know, I felt like I was in a trance the whole day of just like, what did I do? This was a
Yeah.
terrible idea. I want to
I
go
think,
back and like whatever. But now
yeah.
I couldn't imagine being back in that job.
Yeah.
Not that
And
it
you
was
and
bad, but
I think a lot of people feel that way when they're getting into real estate. And it's like you just have to trust your gut. And you knew that there was more out there for you, that there was something better. And the income opportunity is just, limitless. And you knew that, I mean, you have such potential. I feel like your personality is so great, but it is scary no matter what, no matter all the skills or whatever you think that you might have for anybody, it is really, really nerve wracking. So when you got licensed, like what were your first couple of steps? Like, what did that look like? What did you do? A lot of newer agents, I know there's some seasoned agents on this call, but also for like the replay aspect of it, there's a lot of newer agents that are going to watch this and they're like, I have no idea what to do. What did that look like for you and how did you take action?
yeah, I kind of feel like what I did was I sat down and I figured out like, okay, this is how much I made at my previous job. So my goal is to make as close as I can to that as possible. So then I looked at what is my average, or what is the average sales home in Central Oregon where we live? And then what's the average commission? What are my splits? How many houses do I need to sell to hit that income? So then I kind of started working backwards too. So once I figured that out, I'm like, okay, so if I am able to close like between, I don't know, 10 to 20% of everybody that I speak with, or can get a referral from that, you know, that percentage of people, and I need to close, say 15 deals. I think it was, I needed to close like 12 deals my first year to make the same income as I did at my last job. And I was like, okay, so I need to talk to this many people to get those 12 deals. Divide that by 12, divide that by 30. I need to talk to 2 people a day. Like,
Yeah.
wow, that's not a lot. And so then I kind of just from there was like, okay, go through my Facebook, go through my phone, go through my Instagram, figure out everybody that I've met my entire life, from high school, from, you know, college, from like the moves that we've done with Jared, my husband being in the military, who is literally everyone I know. I put it all in a spreadsheet. Every single person I did like where I knew them from. And then I kind of started sorting out from there. And I kind of worked again backwards from people that I know most recently to people that I haven't talked to in forever. And I just started reaching out to them and just like, even if it was
Yeah.
just
What'd
like,
you say?
yeah. I remember there was this one guy that I went to high school with, and I saw him on my Instagram and I was like, oh my gosh, he's a real estate agent now in California. That's so crazy. So I just messaged him and I was like, hey bud, like, hope you're doing well. I see all your success on social media with real estate. That's friggin' awesome. And you got married. I just ran across your profile. Just wanted to reach out and say hi. And then he responded like a week later and he's like, oh, I see you're in real estate now. Where are you? So then we started chatting. And then a year later, he ended up referring me somebody that was moving to the area. And I don't think that he would have referred me the business if I hadn't just reached out and said
Yeah.
hi, told him congratulations for the successes that he's had in his life. Same thing, there was my high school teacher, she had been following me forever and ever. And I just like reached out to her and I was like, I saw you got married. I saw you're a principal now. And that's awesome, whatever. Again, about a year later, she sent me a teacher that because she's a principal, and that teacher now was moving to the area. And she's like, hey, she's moving, you know, I have this teacher moving to the area. Would you want to help their family buy a home? And so I was able to help them buy a home. And from there, she's referred me business. So it's just been this kind of like reaching out, telling people, you know, congratulations for their successes,
Yeah.
or congratulations for wherever they're at in
So
life.
each conversation is different and you're catering it towards what's going on in their lives, right?
Yes. Yep.
That's
Definitely.
that, and it's not that complicated. That's so easy. There's this book that I'm reading right now. What is it? More Money, Less Hustle. And I'm like halfway through and it's so good. I feel like if I was to have written a book, like this is it. And one of the things that she shared about her experience getting into business was she was cold calling and absolutely hated it, but she was like getting business this way, but it was exhausting. It was mentally exhausting. You're having to answer your phone 24/7 and get the callbacks and, you know, all the things that come along with cold calling. And she had decided to just start reaching out to people on Facebook, messaging them, catering these messages towards them, having conversations with people that was like her sphere, acquaintances, people that she hadn't talked to in so long. And she's like, and that's how ultimately I built the business that I wanted. And I would be home in my pajamas doing these messages to people, and I'm not having a cold call, get out to the property right away. And so I think that's so great. And I think agents forget about doing that. Like, it's so much like meet more people, but it's like dial in on what you already have. And one of the things, I think I shared this on another call, but at the Ryan Serhant, his course and at the training, he was saying how new agents were like, how do I get business? How do I get leads? And he was like, dial in on your sphere, dial in on your contacts, and call 200 people of your sphere. And people are like, I don't have 200 people. And he's like, give me your phone. Give me your phone. I'm sure you have 200 people in there. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe I do. And he was like, reach out to them. You're a brand new agent, right? And tell them, hey, I just got into the business. I have huge goals. I'm on X team or with X brokerage, whatever it is. Who do you know that I need to talk to? And like, look, they might not say like that they know somebody off the spot, right? Like you had mentioned, like a year later. But now this sphere of yours is going to see you continuously show up on social media because that you're doing all those things, right? And that helps build that credibility off of that call you made or that message that you sent. And then, you're going to build that know, like, trust factor, and you will get that business from them, even if it's not right away.
Yeah. And I feel like people just, one thing that I realized, especially during the pandemic, because pretty much like I got into the business and then months later we were in full shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Wow,
there was no going out to events, there was no door knocking, like there was that, none of that was happening. So that was kind of wild. But what I've realized is people just want to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, calling them and telling them, hey, I'm a real estate agent, I want to crush it, da 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 da. But I feel like when you just call people or message them and let them be seen and say like, hey, I just saw your son won a baseball game. Like, that's freaking awesome. How are you? Blah, 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 blah. It inevitably always comes back around. Hey, what are you up to? Oh man, I just got my real estate license. I love it. This is what I'm doing. Do you have anybody or do you know anybody that's going to be buying a house? And you don't even need to really start with that. You talk to them about where they're at in life, love on them, make them feel seen, and then they'll inevitably, the conversation will always ebb and flow to, what are you doing? How are you doing? And then that's when you have an opportunity to kind of talk about real estate. And then inevitably, you can have that conversation too of like, oh, if you know anyone that ever needs anything, or if you guys ever need anything, let me know. If you're ever curious what your house is worth, I'd be happy to do, complimentary CMA, and then just leave it very like relaxed. And then they'll start following along more on your journey, because when you start messaging people on these platforms, your stuff will start showing up more in their feed. So they'll start seeing you with your real estate inevitably and stuff like that.
Yeah. When COVID had happened and, all the craziness, I started reaching out to my sphere, Facebook, texting, calling, Instagram messages, and was like, hey, how are you doing? And, through all this craziness, and it started so many great conversations. And I was like, why did a pandemic have to happen in order for me to reach out to all these people? And it's like crazy that it took that in order for me to even think to do that. So it's like something that I've just implemented in my business is just reaching out to people and starting conversations with them. And even like I would be like, hey, let's grab coffee sometime, or we should do a double date. And it's like these people are like, oh my God, yes, absolutely. Like, it's so hard to it's harder now, like when you're older, I feel like, to make friends. Like, we're not in school, we're not in activities and stuff. So it's a little bit harder. And when you reach out to people, like, let's grab coffee, let's do this thing that we have in common, like, they're always so open to it. Like, yes, I would absolutely love to. And it's like, okay, great. Why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah. Well, I think before the pandemic, and we just all need to be really intentional and thoughtful too, as we kind of come out of the pandemic, is we can get very easily wrapped into like going to all these different events and like running around and like being, just constantly out and about, which is awesome, because there is that like sense of human connection that is really thoughtful and just like powerful.
Yeah, it's important.
But I mean, like, even, I recently, there's an agent in Tennessee that I follow that I love, and they recently did like a birthday video where they videoed
Ooh.
themselves saying happy birthday. They didn't say a name. They just said, happy birthday. I hope you have a great day. I'm just thinking of you, blah, blah, blah. And then they go on their Facebook every day and they look to see
Mhm.
whose birthday it is. And if they have their phone number, they'll text them the video or they'll message them in private messenger. And I started doing that recently, and people are like, oh my gosh. And it's so short. It's like 15
Yeah.
seconds. And it's like, I'm just dressed pretty casually.
Yeah.
And people are like, wow, thank you so much. Like, that was so kind.
Yeah.
And I feel like being able to even just do stuff like that, that's totally cost effective. It doesn't cost you anything, it doesn't take you any time. And then you just save that video and you just go through, Facebook tells you whose birthday it is,
Yeah.
and then just start sending it off.
I think a lot of times agents, and I've even done it myself, like overcomplicating things. And it's like, there's really simple things to do that don't cost a lot of money. It's like, yeah, you probably do care about these people genuinely, but it's, you're like, how do I show it to them? Do I have to send them a gift? Do I need to do a pop by? And it's like, no, actually, you could just be their friend and just talk to them, right? Like, it doesn't
Definitely.
involve a huge expense, like huge marketing or having to be anything extravagant. And then one thing that I've also realized is, because I mean, my social media is so intense, right? Like there's just so many posts, so many videos, all this stuff. So I feel as though, which is good, like I give the impression that I'm super busy, right? Especially in the beginning, I feel like that's really important.
Yeah.
But moving forward, it's like, okay, well, now people think that I'm too busy. I have too much going on. And I have heard people say before, like, oh, I didn't know that you dealt in this price point. Or I didn't think you're so busy. I didn't think you would have time.
Yeah.
And it's like when you actually take the time to reach out to them, they're like kind of surprised, I think. And it's just because like, oh, wow, thank you so much for like taking time out of your day to give me a call. And
Yeah.
I think that's really important. We do get so busy in the day to day and stuff, but I've definitely been more aware about reaching out to people and making it a part of my plan. So with the team came on, right? And we did the business plan with everybody. And one of the things that they wanted to focus on was cold calling. And so
Mm.
I was like, sure, like if you want to cold call, let's do it. I'll buy you the
Yep.
dialer, like whatever. So they're going through the
Yeah.
process. They're like, this shit sucks. It's like, um, they're not doing FISBOs are expired because I feel as though they need to be a little bit more skilled. So I'm like, let's just start with circle prospecting to start. And the agents, they'll tell me their experience and how horrible it is. And I'm like, you know what I'm doing right now? I'm messaging people on Instagram. Like that's how I would prefer to lead generate. If you just focus on the people who already know you and like you, like it's just so much easier than doing these calls,
Yeah.
right?
I think too, it's also really neat when you get to like in the beginning too, the other thing that I did was I figured out who my feeder markets were. So like where people were moving
Mm.
from. And then I started finding agents in those areas on Instagram.
Ooh,
And
yes.
I would just like message them and be like, oh my gosh, your page is freaking bomb. Like I am so impressed by it. If I ever have anyone moving to Portland or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to connect with you and put you on my list of referral agents. And like maybe we can hop on a call and just kind of like powwow and I can kind of, learn from you and you can learn from me and we can kind of collaborate together. And one of my, like, I think it was my second or third deal that I ever got was from a referral agent. And he's since
I
sent
love that.
me 3
Hey,
other referrals, which is like crazy.
ooh, let me mute this person. Sorry. Um, Yeah, realtor referrals on Instagram are freaking huge. It's a huge, huge, huge part of my business, which is why Instagram being hacked is like devastating to me because I'm like, how are these realtors going to find me? But that's how I I find referrals. Like when I have somebody looking for somewhere, I immediately go to my Instagram. I search through my followers who's in that area. If I don't have somebody or it's not coming up because they haven't set their profile up correctly, I will search, hashtags and find somebody through Instagram. And it's like if buyers and sellers are finding me this way, like why not find our realtor referrals this way as well, right? Like we could easily post in one of the groups and get like that's so overwhelming for me because then I get calls, texts, hey, I can help your buyer, your seller. So I just like that message to Instagram. If I see they have this awesome social media presence and I see that they're in the business, I'm like, okay, this is who I'm going to send my referral to. So I definitely think that if you're not aware of that yet, that you should be.
Yeah. Yeah. And just taking the time to like call them or reach out to them and then, ask them to like, hey, what are you, just collaborate. Like, what are you doing in your marketplace? Where are you seeing the market going? Is it more of a seller's market? Is it more of a buyer's market? So that you're just more educated too on like what the market's doing, not just in your specific area, but just kind of more to nationally.
Yeah. I love my weekly email. And so, of course, I'm like, any realtor that wants to be on this email, like, please. And I've had other realtors ask me, like, why are you adding other realtors onto this weekly email? I'm like, so they think about me every week. So if they have a Jacksonville referral, who are they going to think of? I mean, sure, I'm on Instagram a lot, but also with the algorithms and stuff, like there's a lot of people I don't see, or, I'm like, people are like, did you see that on that post? Or a friend will even say that to me. And I'm like, no, I didn't see that. So it's like, at least this email is hitting their inbox every single week. And like I said, it's a huge part of my business. So I definitely see such the value in that. And then if I have a lot of realtors addresses. So when I'm doing my Christmas card, I send it to everyone.
I got your Christmas card and it was hanging up on my fridge for like months.
Yes. And I love that. Like I love receiving the cards too. And I love hanging them up. And I'm like, yeah, this is my girl in Oregon. Like who else would I?
It makes me feel too like, like when you got engaged, like I don't know, like I felt like I got to like celebrate that with you. And like that was like exciting. And it's like I have your Christmas card with your sweet dog. And like I feel like I know you even more on like a personal level. And so when I am telling people like, hey, you're moving to Florida, like I know an agent that is 100% going to take amazing care of you. She's amazing. She's like getting married. She's got a dog. She's like this and that. And then it kind of breaks down those like barriers too of people being like, who are you referring me to? Who is this person? They're like, oh, Stevie, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So you do such a good job at that and definitely have inspired me. And I know many other agents as well.
Oh, thanks, girl. Okay. So now we're 2.5 years into the business. Mm-hmm. How are things going? What are some of your goals? What are some things that you're focusing on right now in your business?
Yeah, so in the last like couple of months, I really honed in on my my templates. So everything, because I've gotten a lot busier. I mean, my first year, I did about 29 transactions last year. Lindsay and I together did like 50, I think it was, like just shy of 50. And then this year, I've done 14. I don't know how many Lindsay's done because I've, have that partnership, but I just want to make sure so that I have time to be really intentional and kind of pour into people the way that you and I are talking about, to have like all of these templates kind of dialed in already. So, email templates for, opening up transactions, dialing in my transaction coordinator, and then making like those videos, like birthday videos, making sure that's kind of a template in my mind. Having like a template when people ask me like, do you have a lender recommendation, that I kind of have like, a couple different lenders with their information, their photos, stuff like that. So I can send that off to them. And partially why I want to be all dialed in that is because I'm really going to try and focus on bigger developments and representing those developments.
That's
And
exciting.
yeah, it is. It is exciting. It's also terrifying because there is a
Yeah.
lot that comes with it. But you really have to have all that stuff dialed in, because if you're doing like large volume, you just, you know, you need to make sure that you have all that stuff dialed in. So that's kind of what I've been working on. I also, I couldn't find it. I think I have it at my office in town, but I got this, I guess it was like not a flyer, but kind of like this booklet from this agent in Idaho. I was looking for a referral agent and for a client. And I found her on Instagram, and she mailed me this sweet little packet with, it's like a information about the area of Idaho. It has like, uh, um, what do you call that? Why am I drawing a blank? Client, well, I guess other agents, like feedback on her
Mhm.
as an agent and their experience with her.
Oh,
And it
cool.
showed like a photo of her and her sweet little family, and just kind of more information about her and her brokerage and what she does. And I would love to, I'm starting to create something like that. So again,
Yeah.
as I'm trying to build this like referral network, I can send this off to, you know, other agents to kind of show them, hey, this is what I do. Here is, you know, information from other agents of their experience with me and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm dialed in with these other kind of, you know, things that
Yeah.
I can just send off, and yeah, that's kind of some of my goals, I guess.
No, that's super awesome. And I feel like impactful. And you could probably even use that in other ways too, like um, at appointments, like talking about, with buyers, like here's things about the area for you to know about, and you could add on the one that you create, like reviews and all this stuff. So I think that's a really cool idea. Um, Oh, and someone wrote, I love that idea, the packet to send to realtors. I'm absolutely going to do this. I usually send a thank you card and like a little Starbucks gift card, but this sounds way better.
Yeah, if I find it, I will take a screenshot of
Yeah,
it and post it in the Facebook page. Because I think I gave it to our guy that like does all our designs and stuff like that at the office.
mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it was really impactful. Like when I opened it, I was like, wow, I'm going to remember this girl, and
Yeah,
I'm impressed. And like you said, it was very impactful. And I, you know, I feel like the handwritten cards are awesome as well. I love that
mhm.
you do that. I do that as well. But sometimes like having more of like a photo, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like having that recognition. So I feel like with between texting and just, I don't know, like emails and everything like that, I feel like words get lost in the sauce a
mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
And having like, you know, photos and more information is just kind of like, wow, you know, that really stood out. She took the time to send that to me.
Yeah, that sounds great. So what was I going to say? We were talking about tasks, and I was going to mention my number one focus is like all the admin, all the things are not anything that I need to be doing. So I've told the team, like, my number one focus is I need to be talking to people.
Yeah.
That's my job. I feel like it's like I need to meet new people. I need to be building up relationships with people. So however that looks, coffee, phone calls, texting, all the things, that's like my number one focus. And then like putting out fires and transactions, because it's not something McCall, my director of operations, can do, right? She can't negotiate. She can't put out any fires. So it's like those two things are the only two things that I want to be doing on a daily basis. And then everything else is outsourced, basically. So I was just talking to an agent about this too, and I thought I would mention this because I think, especially making your first hire is scary, or, it was scary for me. And
I
it's like,
don't
oh,
like it.
yeah. And it's like, wow, you're responsible for this person and their family and the salary. Am I going to bring in the deals to be able to pay for this? I think it's really scary, like thinking about all those things. But
Yeah.
something that you could do to start out slowly is outsourcing just a couple of the tasks just to start and take some things off of your plate, I recently started looking into getting a VA, which I am just super impressed by. We've been interviewing multiple people, and I mean, $5 to $10 an hour for these pretty simple tasks. It's like, that is fabulous. Like, really doing your research and figuring out what it is that you need. Like, I have agents reach out to me, what's a list of the things that your admin does, McCall? And it's like, well, I could tell you, but it's so specific to me. I'm
Right.
so different than you, and how I feel like every agent runs their business so differently. There might be some things in common, but it's like, I don't want you to be phased and feel like, oh, you have to do these things. So I think a really good starting point is just, I don't think we realize how many tasks we do throughout a day, like within our business. And so before I even brought McCall on, because I was like, what all can I have her do? It's like I was drawing a blank. Sure, I could think of a couple of things offhand, but it was like, what does she need to be doing? And then I started writing down like all the things as I was going through the day. And I was like, whoa, this is going to be overwhelming for her. And so I think if you take that approach to it, you'll realize like you could use some help. And here's the items that you could use help with that pertain to you and your business. And there's like Fiverr, Upwork.com, where you could like customize and have people apply to your job. And from what I've seen, are really inexpensive. There's a VA that we interviewed with today. It's magic.com, I think. And
magic.com?
Yeah, I believe so. Let me double check. They're a little bit more expensive, as they are $10 an hour. Woo, but yeah,
over here.
Yeah, okay, that's not the website. Let me see. And I was super impressed by their entire system, everything that they have. And then I even got on the call with the person and just to see if like, okay, here's all the tasks, here's what I want you to do, making sure we're on the same page. And I was expecting her to like have an accent, and it was like, not at all. And I was like, wow, this is so great. And I do hear of a lot of agents, a lot of teams utilizing these VAs, and I just never tapped into it before. And it's like, if I, what I'm paying McCall isn't what you would pay a VA, but if starting out and you don't have that budget aside, like $5 an hour, I bet you could do that. And you could even start out part-time. And I think that helps you be able to produce more business so that you can focus on the income producing activities. So I am all about outsourcing, which was really hard for me to do at first, even with the TC. It was like, I can do it. I feel as though I need to do it. I am, picky and wanting things done a certain way, a certain time. And it's like, I don't have time to do that anymore. Right. And I don't want to be doing that. And that isn't, doing this paperwork isn't what's bringing me in more business. And that's what I need. Right.
Well, and that's why I started creating, because I realized at some point I was like, okay, I've got to start letting some things go. And to not just continue growing the business, but at the same time too, to find work-life balance and be able to enjoy myself, enjoy my husband, like rest, get good sleep, all of those things, work out. Because I feel like my first like year and a half to like kind of the full 2-year mark, from like the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed, it was real estate 110%. And it's great in the beginning, but long-term, there's no longevity in that. You're going to have burnout. So I think that that's really wise advice. That's why I started creating the templates so that I could kind of like, as I passed it off to the transaction coordinator, I'm like, this is what I want the emails to look like. This is when I want them to be sent out. These are like my instructions. Have fun with it. And she's
Yeah.
such a fabulous job. You know, there's always like growing pains, and I just have to give her grace when she makes mistakes and doesn't do it necessarily the way that I want to do it. And to just recognize, like, at the end of the day, it's fine. At least the buyer, the seller's getting that information, and it's reducing the amount of questions that I'm getting, which is really nice, because that was the other thing too, is I'm getting the same questions over and over and over again. I feel like I'm a broken record. How can I answer these questions before they're asked? So that has been really helpful, but I definitely need to take your advice on hiring, you know, a virtual assistant, because yeah, I feel like there's so many little things that I'm missing in my business that I'm like, I know that I want to do all these things. I just don't have the time to do them. But I feel like it'll elevate my business and give that really intentional experience that I want clients to have and remember me by, because I feel like that is truly what builds the business that I particularly want. And the clients that I want is just having it be this incredible experience that they remember, that they always want to talk about, that they want to share with their friends and family and coworkers. So yeah, it's good advice though. I know I need to pursue.
Well, and I feel like in the beginning, when you get into real estate, like, you have to do that. I don't think that there's work-life balance in the beginning. If you're wanting to maybe get to a certain level, I think that it's necessary. And then, you know, now it's like, I don't work as, I mean, 1/4 the amount of what I was working before, because I have so much help. And it's like, I'm okay making less. I am paying someone's salary. I've got buyer agents, so I'm making half. Like, I'm definitely not making as much, but my life right now it's way more valuable. The time, the relationships. I'm like, I'm okay. So it's kind of like, I think you have to get to that point where it does help me do more business, but it also helps me have a life and go on vacation and all the things, right? And that's important. And I think when you're getting into the business, like, it's not always like that. If you build it correctly, you will get to the point where you have this flexibility that everyone talks about, right?
I always laugh, flexibility in this business.
I know.
I'm curious.
I'm like,
yeah, no, I totally get that. And I feel like in this business too, like there's not a price tag too on like your family and your health and your mental state. And I think forget that. And, you know, this business is so glamorized with social media and these awesome
shows,
real estate shows that we all love to watch. And, you know, and then too, we're always like, it's such a like grow game business where it's like constantly growing, constantly selling, constantly this, constantly that, which is friggin' awesome. I'm all about it. I'm all about the boss babe. I'm all about fucking crushing. Excuse me. I'm all about crushing it. Excuse my language. Oops.
No.
But it's like, at the same time, grow that business, show up, do a good job for your clients, do a good job for your team. And at the end of the day, like, you have to let certain things go, and it's never going to be perfect, and that is okay. And, you know, it was interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was so impactful for me. And they were basically saying, they're like, you know, a real estate agent, if they're selling, you know, $8 million a year, right? They're making over $100,000. The average income in the United States is like, I think 50,000 or even less than that. So you're making more than double what the average income is. And you didn't have to go to college for this. Like, there aren't, you know, it's not super expensive to get into this business, and you're making over $100,000 a year. Like, or even high producing agents making $250,000 a year. When has that not been like an awesome income or enough for people? And why is it that we're always like trying to have more and more and more and more and more? Like, being able to sit in that for a second and be like, wow, look around, like, look at who I get to work with, look at what I get to do. I get to run my own business, and I don't have a lot of overhead. And this is really special and awesome. And I feel like we forget to kind of stop and enjoy that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
because we're such a business of like grow, 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 grow. What's the next thing?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And as to piggyback off of the experience aspect of it, my clients are getting a much better experience. Like dealing with burnout Stevie, I think was not good. I feel like I was like,
Totally.
irritable, short tempered, not as patient with the questions that I would receive. And I wasn't able to get out in this crazy freaking market. I wasn't able to get out to properties that quick. Like it would take me a day, and it's like in this market, you can't be like that. And so I feel like now, I have these excited realtors on my team that, I mean, the clients are just blown away by them. And I'm like, I couldn't provide that experience anymore because there's just too much going on. There's too much volume. I'm wanting to also have a life. And so I think that's something to consider as well, is the experience for the client. And that's what ultimately is most important, because I want my business to be referral based. And it's like, no one's going to refer me if I am burnt out.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. And I love that your buyers have like somebody that's designated to just being a buyer's agent,
Yeah.
like that's like their main focus, because I feel like when you're, a listing agent, your mindset, or when you're mainly focusing on listings, your
Yeah.
mindset's very different. You're more focused on marketing
Mm-hmm.
and pushing out the property and all of that. Whereas like a buyer's agent, I mean, they need to be in, looking at all these different properties and like seeing what the competition is and knowing, what's winning offers, what's not winning offers, and all that kind of stuff. So that's really neat that your, buyers have that experience with the buyer's agents that are like, that's their focus. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. They are great. How are things going with you looking into the team aspect? We already have somebody.
Yeah, well, my business partner yesterday, she just moved to
Oh yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
So that transition is going to be really hard in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of just like, okay, like I'm kind of losing my right arm, my
Mm-hmm.
other half, my balance, right? Because part of the reason why we partnered up was so that we both could have, work-life balance. So it's like I go
Mm-hmm.
on vacation, she covers my business 100%, vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a little bit different. I have realized in that process of like having her for the last year and then having her leave, that having that partnership to me is really unique and special to who I am. Like I love having somebody to collaborate with. I love having somebody to, lean on those
Mm-hmm.
days inevitably where I'm like wanting to just rip my hair out because I've got a seller that doesn't want to accept a full price offer, and like how do you navigate this, so it'll be, yeah, I mean, my heart is open to partnering with somebody else, or maybe
Yeah.
this is like my opportunity to kind of step out and be like, okay, maybe I'll hire more of like a buyer's agent, or like
Mm-hmm.
a junior underneath me that isn't necessarily like a partner that's on the same producing level, because
Yeah.
she and I were pretty much like producing the
50
same
50.
amount, 50-50. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just more of like a work-life balance situation of like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. This is definitely kind of forcing me to think like, okay, do I want another partner that's more 50-50, or am I in a position now where I can be in more of a leadership position
Yeah.
where I can mentor and guide and encourage and kind of have somebody like underneath me?
Yeah. I had a showing assistant for almost 2 years
Okay.
before bringing on. So I was still handling everything within the transaction besides the showing aspect of it.
Okay.
And I feel like that's like a good way to like kind of ease into it.
Mhm.
And we
Did you
basically
just pay
were,
her like per showing, or how did you do
I
that?
ended up, because it's like everyone's looking at so many houses, that I ended up giving her, I want to say 10% of the transaction,
Okay.
which I thought was, sure, it's a lot more than paying door to door. But if
Yeah,
you find somebody qualified that's giving your buyer a good experience, I was like more than fine with doing that.
totally. And
So
two, then there's not the like tracking how many doors they went to and then sending you an invoice and you Venmoing them and dealing that with your tax accountant and all that stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah.
no, 100%, which I had done it with people who, like, if she wasn't available, like she would go out of town or, wasn't able to do it for whatever reason. And, I'd be hitting up agents and, I'm like, okay, what's your price? It's like, shit, it just seems like, so recently we were within our Keller Williams office. They now have this class that agents can take so they can get certified like showing assistant. And one of my coworkers there, she was like, yeah, I reached out to somebody asking for help with a showing, and she told me her price was $75 because she was this certified showing assistant. She was like, who do you think you are? Like, what? And I was like, shit, I'll do the showing for you for $75.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the last showing that I paid for, I paid like $100. I was like,
Oh,
please.
wow.
I mean, it was far. It was like, a rural property that was like 45
Yeah.
minutes outside of town. But I was like,
Yeah.
I'm willing to pay the $100. Like, I
Yeah.
am out of town. I have no one to go show it. This is our dream property. Like, please go show this.
I was thinking, like, if it was multiple homes that day, like, oh my gosh, they'd be banking.
Yeah, right. I mean, I wasn't necessarily like $100 a door in that sense, but I was anyway. But yeah, kind of talking about like the experience for clients. Do you go to all of your buyers and sellers signings?
So I'm exclusively only doing listings. So it's
Okay.
just me, not the agents. As far as the buyer consults, I have not been. It's absolutely so insane and exciting to me that when people reach out to me, it's like 95% of the time, can you or someone on your team help? Or interested in buying, would want someone you on your team help. So it's like I've already set the expectation with social media that like there's a team there. So it's been a very good transition since a lot of buyers are realtor referrals. So it's almost as though that referral doesn't have a relationship with me. So it's no big deal to be like, hey, Aubrey is going to give you a call. She's on the team. Yeah. It's like no big deal at all. And then it's been so great. They've been taking the lead with the buyer consults.
That's awesome. And then when they like say they go out of town or on vacation, do they cover each other since there's more than one buyer's agent, or do you then kind of step in and take care of that like role of covering them?
So no one's gone out of town or not been able to do a showing yet. So that's a really good question. But I have McCall, she has done showings for them actually, now that I think about it. If one of them wasn't able to make it, she would do the showing.
So essentially, I need to just like duplicate McCall and have her move here to Bend, Oregon.
Yeah. But, there's other directors of operations that, they found these people through their sphere, other realtors. She was on a team in my office and, and you can start interviewing some people because it's such a blessing. Like even I needed her like 2 days ago Jacksonville's so huge. So it was a lot of driving. Like I needed her to go pick up a lockbox and a sign and put it on this other property and talk to these people and get it underneath the key underneath the mat. And like, it's just so nice to not have to do that anymore. It's like, and actually I could have, because I didn't have appointments, but I was like, I don't need to be doing that. I need to be talking to people. And, it's like, I was free, I was capable, but it's like, no, that's not my job anymore.
Right. Well, and too, because we're not an 8 to 5 job, when you do have like an hour of nothing scheduled, you don't always have to fill it. And that's something that I've been trying to teach myself in the last, right? Because I went from my whole life working 8 to 5. And so now I'm like, I have to remind myself, okay, if I have a pocket of an hour, I don't necessarily have to fill it. I want to fill it because I'm a business owner and I want to be income, generating and produce, but at the same time, like I also have to remind myself, like on Sunday, I'm going to be doing an open house, or I'm going to be meeting with a seller, or I'm going to be doing twilight meeting, photographer at 9 p.m. at night to get twilight. I have to remind myself it's okay to take that
Yeah.
hour and like enjoy my coffee or, go for a walk or whatever the case may be. So
I do find it like very hard, especially in the beginning, but it has gotten easier.
okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I feel so. I mean, I was in grind mode, I feel like for several years and I took no trips. If I did something at night, like I was leaving early so that I could get up early and do all these things. Like it was a little crazy, like very, very obsessive over real estate. And so to go like on this other side of the spectrum, it's really nice, but it still is a struggle because I do feel very competitive. I do feel as though I want to do more. I want to do more. But then another part of me is like, how much money does one need to make? It's like it's okay. And I'd rather, the time and the relationships and the trips and stuff like that. But it is a battle, but it has gotten much, much easier.
Yeah. How many years do you feel like you were in that like hustle mode?
I honestly didn't chill until I met John. So it's like if I hadn't met
Okay.
him, would I still
So like
be?
5 years, 6 years
Yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
straight hustle. How many hours a week do you feel like you were working?
I think from the moment I
Estimate.
woke up until like I would even be working at night, like every single night until I went to sleep. It was
Yeah.
in some sense like I could have been working on like coffee and contracts content or sending properties to a
That's
listing.
still working. Your brain's
Yeah.
still on. Yeah, totally. And I feel like as a new agent, I mean, I've heard this from multiple people that saw Selling Sunset and decided to get their real estate
Oh my
license. And now
god.
they're coming to me 6 months later and they're like, holy guacamole, I had no idea that this was this hard. Like I had no
Yes.
idea. And I'm like, they're like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I'm not the highest
Yeah.
producing agent in our area,
Yeah.
whatever. But I'm like, it's a hustle. Like
Yeah.
I literally for the first 2 years, just in like you said, just until recently, I've kind of like tried to find a little bit of like an active balance, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
like it's just every day is a balance. There's
Mm-hmm.
not like a yeah. But anyway, like there people don't realize because they see you on your social media, right? With
Mm-hmm.
John, you're traveling, you're doing this,
Right.
you're doing that, and you're fine. You've found that balance, but they don't realize the first however many years you were working Monday through Sunday
Yeah.
from 7 a.m. or whatever until 9 o'clock at night. They
Yeah.
didn't see that hustle and they
Right.
didn't realize like to get to the point that you're at right now, like you had to put in that time, that energy, that effort,
Mm-hmm.
that drive, all that stuff.
No,
So
that's a struggle with having the team now because these agents didn't know me during that time.
yeah.
So I think now them seeing me and like the flexibility and the all the time off, I'm like, I embed in their brain and remind them of how crazy I was. I was like, I did 3 open houses a weekend. I was doing, well, I'm telling them all the things so that like they do not forget it and that they realize the work that goes into it. And it's been great so far.
Okay.
But I do think I'm like, oh my gosh, like another like me telling them that I have a trip. I'm like, I'm gonna be out of town. I'm like, they just must think I'm lollygagging over here. But no, they know that I work and all those things. But I definitely think that the perception it's hard, especially on social media. 100%. People think
Right.
I'm not going on there. I don't ever go on there saying anything negative because I don't want to see that. But that also isn't real life of the things that are going on and the crazy ass shit sometimes, it's like,
Yeah.
but like something crazy could be happening. And then I'll get on a story. I'll be like, hope everyone's having a great day. Any real
Totally.
estate questions,
There's a
let me
little bit of
know.
that like fake it till you make it, a little bit of that like sense of like you want to bring like joy and light
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but there's also like this kind of other side to it. And I
Yeah.
had actually someone say the other day, they're like, why don't you ever like, because I was telling them, and I think I told you the story about how I brought that seller full price offer, great terms, everything. He was like, no, I actually want to pull it off the market and raise the price $20,000. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And I was with a friend and we were out to dinner and I'm getting all these text messages from the seller and I'm kind of telling them what's going on. They're like, Alex, you could start like a whole Instagram page with like all of the crazy stories. I'm like, oh, you
Oh,
have no idea. I'm like, I could get just, I can't like 5 agents and have 1,000 stories for you of how crazy
yeah.
this industry is.
Yeah. And then too, like my buyers and sellers follow me. So it's like, I don't want to complain about a transaction or a client or another realtor or any of the truth. So it's like, and I
Totally.
notice like when people are, if I'm like, let's say we're under contract, they're on my social media all the time and they're always like commenting and all the things, viewing my stories and stuff. So I'm like, well, now I especially, not going to say anything, but it's not the truth. It's not sharing, like it's the highlight reel of it. And
Yep.
it's, I think hard for other people to see, what it's really like. Right.
Totally. Totally. I know that we're coming towards the end of the call, but I kind of
Yes.
wanted to, I like made a checklist of a couple things that I
Yeah.
wanted to do for like actionable steps to keep the business
Yes.
flowing and to keep you as an agent top of mind. Do you mind if I
That'd
share
be
them?
great. Yes.
So create that video wishing people a happy birthday, saying like,
Mm-hmm.
make it just short and sweet,
I
and
love that.
don't say anyone's specific name, and then just go every day on Facebook, see the list of people on their birthdays, message them individually, create like a little template of, hey, fill in their name, I hope you have an amazing birthday. I hope this, video wishes you well, whatever you want it to be. Literally just copy and paste it from your notes section on your phone, put it in the thing and send it off. And then if you have like aunts and uncles, parents, friends, send them that video too, because it is very special to receive a video message from
Mm-hmm.
somebody that you love.
I love that.
And then when you see somebody post on social media that they had like a baby or they got engaged or they got a promotion or they
Mm-hmm.
went on an awesome vacation, send them like a text message, or if you have time while you're driving, give them a quick phone call and just be like, oh my gosh, I just saw on Facebook that you went on the coolest vacation. Where did you go? Where did you
Mm-hmm.
stay? I want to learn more because my family and I might want to go stay there sometime.
Yeah.
And people like love to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then two, I recently called an agent and their voicemail was so horrendous. It was like loud and it like I couldn't even hear their name. And I was like, this is very interesting. So I
Crazy.
wrote down, go into your closet. Well, first write down what you want your voicemail to say, have it be very like clear
Oh,
and concise. Go into your closet and face your clothes because it'll help mute the sound and not make it sound echoey, and record your voicemail. Update your voicemail.
mm.
Um,
I don't even know like what's on my voicemail. So that's a really good reminder.
it just adds that level of professionalism and again,
Yeah.
that experience for your sphere, your clients. So when, I remember when I first changed it and I just made it sound really professional, my mom left me this voicemail and she's like, wow, you sound so professional, and it's like, even just when your friends or family call you, when you have that level of professionalism and they're reminded with the voicemail, it's like, it just adds that level of, an elevated level of experience.
Yeah.
Um, balance your posts with personal and real estate. I know that you do that really well, Stevie. I love following you because of that. And I feel like I've tried to put that into my own business. I feel like people don't want to always just see all real estate
Mm-hmm.
stuff and they don't want to always just see your children either. So find that
Mm-hmm.
like happy medium of maybe like one personal post, one real estate post, and just
Yeah.
kind of like go back and forth. And just be authentic and relatable. Also, too, find a lender that you really relate with and really truly connect with. I have gotten multiple referrals from a couple of lenders that I'm really close with, and I have asked them, hey, if I send you business, will you please, when you get a lead, will you send me business?
Yes.
And granted, they might not get as many leads as we do as agents, but they certainly do, even if it's one or two, because that one lead can turn, just branches off beyond that if you do a good job. So don't be afraid to ask for the business from your lenders that you're referring business to. What was the other one? The Christmas cards, I wrote that down. So when Christmas time comes around, start kind of planning that with your family now, get your photos done early, print them early, start, getting it all ready to go so that, you know, when it comes time for Thanksgiving, you can kind of send it out and then it'll be ready for Christmas. Send it to literally everybody you know, even people that you think will want your business card or your Christmas card, send it anyway. And then not recently, when I first got into the business, I found a local gal here that makes signs, custom signs. And so I had her make a sign that has my client's last name on it, and then it has 3 hooks on the bottom for keys. And if they have a dog, I'll have her put like a little like paw print so that they can hang their leash on it. And I have had all of my clients hang them up in their home. And I have had a couple of repeat clients where I've helped them buy a house and then sell it. And when I walk into the house, it's just hanging up right there. And on the back side of the their last name, I have her engrave, "Your Realtor for Life, Alex Golden."
I love that.
So people like especially my first time home buyers, like they just love it. So highly recommend doing something like that so that you're, again, they're looking at that every day. They're being reminded of me every day.
Does someone local make that for you?
Yes.
I got to find someone.
Yeah, she's amazing. And I'm sure you can find somebody in Jackson that can do that.
Yep.
I recently started adding a bow to my buyers' homes when they first come. And that's also been like a very big thing when they walk up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's a bow on my front door."
Yeah.
I ordered them on Amazon. They're so easy. You literally just pull a string and it just makes this bow that's like this big. And I put it on the front door. And so then like the neighbors see it. Their friends see it. And a lot of times they'll leave it up for like weeks. It's hilarious.
I love that so much. That's great.
Yeah. And then kind of what we were talking about earlier, but figure out where your feeder markets are. So where people are moving from, find agents in those areas, reach out to them, make connections with them, be a resource for them, because inevitably they will know somebody that's moving to this area, or they'll have an agent in their office that asks for a recommendation or a referral, and you want to be top of mind.
Awesome. Oh, those were so amazing. I literally wrote notes.
Oh, good. Yay. That was my goal.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to get this put up on YouTube. Do you want to share what your Instagram handle is?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. I just want to make sure I have this correct. It's Alexandria Golden. So it's my full name and then my last name, just all put together.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. I always love chatting with you.
You too, babe. I hope you have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.